Start with the roll call.
Present this evening, Monday, May 13th, 2024, are Mayor C. Holland Purdue III and Vice Mayor Billy W. Stockton. Council members A. Ralph Casey, David K. Clements, J. Tyler Lee, Benjamin K. Mullins, and Mark H. Newbill. Also participating this evening are staff members as noted.
Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Donna Ray. She passed away on May 3rd, 2024. Thank you. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda is in front of you all. We need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. A motion?
Second.
Second. Part of the committee met earlier this evening, and so I think we do need to add one thing to the agenda tonight. We need to do a recommendation action for the VDOT study to number 9. And I believe we're going to ask to remove the closed meeting this evening from the agenda. So those are two changes. So I guess I need a new approval of the agenda.
I'll retract my initial motion and we'll add those two clauses into the new motion to accept the agenda.
Thank you. Second. Second. A second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
This is the public safety utilities.
Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Any second?
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next, we move to old business, the resolution to adopt and appropriate the fiscal year 2025 budget, adopt the tax rates, fees, and utility rates, and adopt the fiscal year 2025 to 2029 capital improvement program and ordinance to amend the town code.
So, Council, we had a number of meetings where y'all discussed the budget, 2 work sessions, and then also a public hearing. And so we're at the point now where it's time to adopt the budget. The very few changes that council made as we talked about the budget have already been made. So tonight, this is just to adopt the budget along with the tax rate and fees that go into the budget.
So I guess you need a motion to approve it?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the budget? We do need a roll call.
We do need a roll call vote, Mr. Mayor. Council members, as I call your name, please give me an A or nay. Vice Mayor Billy W. Stockton.
Aye.
Council member A. Ralph Casey. Council member David K. Clements.
Yay.
Council member J. Tyler Lee.
Yay.
Council member Benjamin K. Mullins.
Yay.
Council member Mark H. Newbill.
Yay.
Mayor C. Holland Purdue III.
Yay.
You have a supermajority, Mayor, so we have a budget in place.
Motion carried. We'll move on to special items this evening. Now we have the recognition of the winner of the Virginia Municipal League's If I Were Mayor contest.
Please.
All up and take the stand.
You can have this place anytime you want. Oh, sorry, this is recorded.
Is there anybody here from VML this evening? So, Mr. Wood, come on. You want to read?
Yeah. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we thought someone from the Virginia Municipal League was going to be here. I think they didn't make it for some reason. So let me tell, while you're standing there, let me tell everybody why you're here. Let me get to the right page. So the Virginia Municipal League, which is an association of the counties and towns and cities in the state of Virginia, they all, they do a contest every year that is open to 7th and 8th graders. and they asked them to write an essay if I were mayor. So what would they do if they were mayor? So that's how this contest works each year. And there are 8 regions for VML in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And so Avery, how do you say last name, Avery? Gallimore. Avery Gallimore is here tonight because for Region 2, which is where Rocky Mount is located, Avery's essay was chosen as the best one. And so it's pretty exciting. So there were only 8 people around the state that were chosen for this award. And let me just give you a little bit of an overview of the contest. The way they describe it in the press release is that the annual If I Were Mayor contest invites 7th and 8th graders from throughout Virginia to submit essays describing what they would do if they were mayor of their hometown. The essay contest is a key component of VML's civic education programming, which seeks to teach school children and adults how local government works and how they can become involved in making their communities better places to live, work, and play. And the council members were all given a copy of your essay, which was really good, by the way. Yeah, it's really good.
You want to say anything?
No.
You want to run the meeting? So I think we all should give her a good round of applause.
Yeah.
You want to take a picture? Can you pretend you are the mayor?
Take the
Come on
gavel.
over here.
All right.
Get the gavel and everything.
Let it be.
Yeah, she can take the seat.
Give her a pen.
Hey, Mark, can you give one president?
Go sit down, take the chair. So go ahead and get the gavel. Get the gavel.
Yeah, go ahead and sit down.
Yeah, have some fun tonight.
And hold that up in your right hand so you can see you got,
Try not to
you
turn
got the
it.
gavel.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
It'll be hard to follow that one up. Now we'll do the recognition of Virginia Farmers Market Association certificate. Mr. Moore, if you would present.
Can I do it up there?
If you want to, come on up here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Virginia Farmers Market Association has launched the Virginia Certified Farmers Market Program to recognize markets throughout Virginia that are meeting and exceeding best practices. Certification comes in 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold. Each level is based on a point system that covers categories such as food safety, continuing education, and public safety. The more points that a market has, the higher level of certification the market receives. We are proud to announce that under the diligent work of our Farmers Market Manager, Amanda Highland, who is in attendance, and our Cultural and Economic Development Director, Daniel Bernard, who's also here, the VAMFA has awarded our farmers market the gold certification. To put this into context, there are more than 240 markets throughout Virginia, and only 18 of them are gold. So we would like to recognize Amanda and Daniel if they would stand. Amanda has done wonders in reshaping our farmers market with under Daniel's tutelage, and we appreciate having Amanda and her family here tonight to celebrate this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, we have the 2023 Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation. Mr. Wood.
So for those that haven't heard of GFOA, it is the Government Finance Officers Association. It is a national organization that's made up of public finance professionals across the United States and Canada. I'm sorry, I said United States, includes Canada. Their mission is to advance excellence in public finance. So the town has pretty regularly received an award from the GFOA for excellence in financial reporting. And so that is one where they look at the financial statements that are produced by the town. They look at them, make sure everything is done in a certain way. Kind of like Mark said on this Farmers Market Award, they have a point system, and if you get enough points, then you get the award. The town has received that award about 20 times over the years. We learned recently that the town received the Government Finance Officers Association's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the budget that was adopted last year. So the award lags a year because they have to review all the budgets. This is the first time that the town of Rocky Mount has received this particular award regarding the budget. And the way they describe it is, this award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. Its attainment represents a significant achievement by your organization. And so they included a press release and they gave us a picture of the award, but we haven't gotten the actual award yet. The award goes to the town, but we should point out that Vincent and Amy and the finance department do a lot of work on this. Obviously, council works on it. All the department heads work on it because they help build the budgets. And then a lot of time and effort goes into putting the budget books together and getting that out. And so what they're recognizing is that our budget has the information in it that the public needs to know how the public money is being spent. And that's what they're looking at. They don't really care how much we spend on cops versus fire versus parks. They're looking at it to say, is the information there that citizens need if they want to know how the town is spending the money? And so I think Vincent and everybody else that's involved in the budget deserves some recognition for this because it's the first time we've ever gotten it.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, so now we'll move into our public hearing. We have the Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG. We have no one signed up to speak this evening at the public hearing, so Mr. Bernard will present.
Thank you, Mayor, Good evening, Council. As you recall, the town currently has a planning grant from DHCD, which is the Department of Housing and Community Development, for a planning grant for the North Main revitalization. That planning grant is the first phase, and then we are preparing for the extra phases, which are to implement the plan. The town has been working with Hill Studio out of Roanoke, and that plan will be ready within the next month, and they will be here at the next council meeting to present the final plan to council. But the application for that implementation will be coming up next month, so we are required to do these public hearings. So I'm about to read off a long list of things that are required for this funding. This is ultimately federal funding that they give to the state to administer, and with any federal funding, there are a lot of boilerplate language that has to come with it, so bear with me.
And as a warning, there's some language in there that's not applicable to our project, but like Daniel said, you have to read the whole thing.
Correct.
Can you leave the microphone a little bit closer?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me now? All right. So the amount of funding available for this project is $1,200,000. The funding is required to have benefit to low and moderate income communities. The program has the following eligible activities, but please note that not all of these activities are eligible for the program that we are applying for. We are applying for a business district revitalization. But these are all the activities available under other community development block grants. Administration, interim assistance, clearance and demolition, owner-occupied housing rehabilitation, investor-owned housing rehabilitation, owner-occupied substantial reconstruction, home ownership creation, neighborhood cleanup, sewer improvements, water improvements, storm sewer improvements, street improvements, flood drainage facilities, micro-enterprise assistance, business district revitalization, and telecommunications. Again, that doesn't mean that we're tearing up all North Main. That's what we're required to notify as applicable uses for this funding. And then there will be no plans to displace anyone. And we are also required to notify of past uses of CDBG funds in town. So there are two examples of when a town has received CDBG funding. So one is the Uptown revitalization about 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. That's very similar to what we were doing with this North Main district, where it's a business district revitalization. And then about 15 years ago, the town did housing rehab in some of the neighborhoods off of North Main. That would be an example of one of the programs that's different from what we are applying for. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. There's no action needed on that at this time, so we'll move on to the Twin Creeks Distillery is requesting a special exception permit under Article 29-1-32 to operate a micro distillery at 140 Franklin Street, Rocky Mount, Virginia.
Thank you, Mayor. Like you mentioned, Twin Creeks Distillery is requesting a special exception to operate a demonstration still at their new location at 140 Franklin Street. They plan to provide educational demonstrations once a month so that visitors and guests can witness the traditional style of distilling here in downtown Rocky Mount. The business will operate the same as the previous location. They will have their retail distillery store as well as the tasting room, which you've probably all seen and maybe visited. On Tuesday, May 7th, Planning Commission held a public hearing on the application. Staff recommended approval based on its conformance with the comprehensive plan and their contributions to economic development and tourism. The Planning Commission recommended council approve the application with a vote of 7-0. If you have any questions on the application, I'll be happy to answer them. Anna's here in the back, and she will happily answer any questions as well.
Make the motion to proceed on.
Hold on. It's a public hearing, we got nobody signed up to speak.
I already.
That's okay. So with that being said, we can entertain a motion unless anybody has a question for Anna or Ford or Dave.
Ford wins the youngest award.
So you have a motion?
I'll make the motion to proceed on.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next we'll move to the,
Hey, Anna, do you have a target date for when y'all are going to open up?
Memorial Day or the weekend after is late May.
Okay.
thank you. All right, next we'll move to hearing citizens. Glenna Moore has signed up to speak. If you would come to the podium.
Good evening.
Hey,
Good evening.
A little more history. Glenn Moore, 45 Scenic River Drive. After the Civil War, many Southerners didn't look favorably upon Northern philanthropists who contributed financially to black causes in the South, such as education. But Booker T. Washington befriended and encouraged their support. One of those philanthropists was Anna T. Jeans, a wealthy Quaker from Philadelphia who met with Booker T. Washington to establish a foundation known as the Negro Rural School Fund. She wanted her money to benefit black schools. Her idea was to provide supervisors for rural black schools. These supervisors would serve as consultants and assistants to black teachers, many of whom were first-generation teachers and even first generation out of slavery. Miss Jeans was so impressed with Booker T. Washington that she gave him power unheard of in the South to a black man. She asked him to put together a board of trustees to spend her donated money to the rural areas where most African Americans were. She insisted Booker T. Washington sit on the board and choose the other members. Washington selected black men who favored industrial education for blacks. Understanding the mentality of Southern white men, the cunning black board hired white men to approach the Southern public officials to hire black teachers for the schools. In 1929, Minnie Mormon, a native of Franklin County, a resident of Rocky Mount, was hired as the first Jeans supervisor for Franklin County Negro schools. She supervised all the black schools in the county, including over 31 one-room schools and Franklin County Training School, Liam Wade, Booker T. Washington Elementary, and Truvine. After 41 years, she retired in 1963, just before Franklin County Public Schools was federally mandated to desegregate. After retiring, Mrs. Mormon traveled extensively and served as a Black Society writer for the local paper, describing social events, activities, and travel within Franklin County's African American community. Minnie Mormon's home on Warren Street remains a handsome and sturdy brick house, now occupied by her daughter-in-law, Ralph Casey's sister, Josephine. Across from her house is the fourplex apartment building she had built to accommodate African American professionals who came to this area during Jim Crow segregation, such as Black cooperative extension agents, black teachers, the first black park ranger in the nation, and his wife, the first black teacher to integrate Franklin County High School, to name a few. Jim Crow segregation was a challenge, and black people had to be creative, cunning, and smart to deal with it. and they were. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Having no one else signed up, we'll now move to the added item under committee reports, a recommendation and action for the VDOT study. Vice Mayor Stockton, do you want to present your committee report?
I've spoken with one of the other gentlemen. They would said they can make a recommendation.
Okay, I make a recommendation that we go ahead with this project and seeking a vote for that.
Mr. Wood, you want to go over what you want?
Just the high level for the council members that weren't at the committee meeting. We talked with the VDOT representatives that are here tonight. If there are any questions about submitting 2 projects for funding, to request funding from VDOT. One of them is along Tanyard and Old Franklin, making some safety improvements, including some a little bit of sidewalk, some street crossings, pedestrian crossings along there, and then some improvements at a couple of the intersections. A lot of the work is actually on Old Franklin in the area between 220 and about School Board Road, putting some raised medians in there to limit the different movements that can be made. Anyone who lives here knows that that's kind of a sketchy area when you're trying to get around because there's people turning from all different directions. So this would limit those movements, which would then in turn limit the opportunities for collisions. And so that's one of the things. VDOT did a study on that area and came up with these recommended projects. And then some of you might have seen that there were some surveys on social media and on the VDOT website where people could give their comments back on these different projects. So that's the first part. The second project that VDOT is asking the council to let them know if you want to proceed as far as trying to obtain the funding from VDOT in the Smart Scale program is the intersection of Floyd and Franklin. Something that's been talked about for a number of years, how to improve that intersection, which is a little different if you're not from here. They have recommended, and it's the same recommendation that the town has gotten in the past from some engineers that have been hired by the town to look at the intersection. Their recommendation is to make that into a roundabout in order to improve the safety and also the movement of vehicles in there. And so those are the 2 projects that VDOT has asked if the town would like to proceed with submitting the application to see if we can get funded. Just to kind of set everyone's expectations, even if the projects are funded, we're looking at 6, 7, 8 years down the road to where these things would actually happen, just because that's the funding cycle takes that long to happen. And so if we're even selected for funding, nothing would happen for probably 5 to 8 years, somewhere in that time frame.
And so, Mr. Casey, is your motion that we submit the application?
Yes.
As presented?
Yes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any discussions or questions from VDOT?
We're not locked into the things that have been presented. This is just to apply for the funding.
Just to submit the application.
And VDOT takes care of the majority of the grant writing, correct? That's all on you guys? All the application process, right?
So, yes, and they're helping us prepare the documentation, but the town actually has to submit the items.
Yeah, so I should have clarified that. It's submitted by the town, but what VDOT does is provide a lot of technical assistance because we don't have engineers on staff, and so they help. And then they also, if you do get funded, they also provide the assistance to manage the project and administer the project.
Yep.
So I have a motion and second to submit the applications on the 2 projects. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Well, that brings us to the adjournment portion of the meeting, since we no longer have a closed meeting in action. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned.